How you doing? Who am I? Well, what does the name Dave Makes Noises mean to you? Have you ever wondered what other people's best in-game interrogation story is? Shall we begin? Looking forward to seeing how this one plays out next session. I'm currently in 2 campaigns, with half the players being the same in both, across alternate Sundays. We're at the start of a homebrew campaign in 5th edition, where my character is a young man named Alex Hilliard, a human hexblade warlock. The party met by all being passengers on a traveling freight caravan heading north, except for one guy who was hired as security for the trip, and we've stopped halfway for a layover in the city of Camruac. The owner of the caravans and guy in charge, Martin, gave us some free time while he attended to business elsewhere, and we've managed to get fairly well acquainted with the City Watch, as one of our party is a watchman from his own hometown, and have taken in a preteen druid NPC who was stealing sheep whilst wild-shaped as a bear, to survive as she had lost her parents. We're looking for them as a side goal now. Upon returning to town, we realized Martin had been gone for longer than he said he would be, and the caravan can't leave without him, nor can his staff get paid. We begin to search for him, and our investigation so far has turned up a secret organization called the Parliament, who are hidden even from the Watch, and apparently engage in some dark arcane rituals. We also ran afoul of one of their lackeys, masquerading as a rather attractive young barmaid, who, upon being discovered, proceeded to burn down the tavern she worked at, with half our party inside, and try to poison the rest of us before escaping into the slums part of the city. Fortunately, only one of us bothered to drink the ale, and so only one got poisoned. They made a full recovery fairly soon after. Investigating further, we found that Martin was secretly a member of the Parliament, and in fact wasn't the sweet and decent soul we had thought him to be. We also found a mysterious assassin who had been hired to find and kill Martin and take down the Parliament, but we struck a deal that the assassin should bring Martin to us first for questioning. He did so, and we had Martin in a room in the fanciest tavern in the city. Think the D&D equivalent of the Hilton. Sadly, interrogation did very little, as we questioned him repeatedly and got absolutely nowhere. We tried various spells to no avail, but insight checks revealed that it was clear Martin was deathly afraid of the Parliament, much more than he was any of us. Alex tried to act as good cop for a time, saying that we could help protect him from the Parliament if he told us what he knew, but that did nothing either. Our watchman PC then tried to intimidate the guy, but rolled so high on his spell to cast fear that it was too successful, and Martin shut down entirely, until eventually one of the party just knocked him unconscious to move forward. The assassin, watching all of this, then offered us a deal. He could get Martin to talk while we waited outside, if we allowed the assassin to complete his job and kill the guy afterwards. We're generally a good party, so we weren't too happy, but couldn't see much recourse. Our artificer is good aligned and refused to be a part of it for now, stepping away while Alex was a bit unsure. He's neutral good, but saw no other way of getting the info. He went downstairs for a stiff drink and a chat with the friendly barmaid while he waited. When we went back inside, we had answers from the assassin to the most important 3 questions that we'd asked. Also, we found a corpse with its head completely twisted around, exorcist style. The assassin bid us farewell, reminding us that as part of our deal, he would call on certain members of the party for a favor at a later point, and then left. We then spent the next half an hour IRL discussing how to remove a body from the fanciest tavern in the city without being caught. It got bad enough that Alex just chimed in and said that he would go ahead and buy a trunk with his own money, fairly cheap at just 9 silver, smuggle the body out, and dump it somewhere discreet, just to stop the arguing. In all fairness, if I'd not stepped in, we would have spent another 20 minutes arguing on the size and shape of trunk to buy, because although I love this group, they have a big tendency to slow sessions down with a mix of undue paranoia and never being able to agree on a plan. We interrogated a halfling by the orders of a Medusa. He was strapped to a table, and it's obvious they already started. The halfling did not give in with the usual methods, so our conjuration wizard conjured a thin sheet of metal, got the barbarian to break it in 2 pieces, then stabbed him with both, just inches apart. After that, he casted mending and caused the metal to move together and fix themselves inside his body. He told us everything we wanted. The wizard player didn't realize that we were on the same side as the halfling, just in disguise. Later, he felt pretty bad about that. My barbarian punched the succubus every time she lied. There was a sorcerer who had some lie-detecting magic or something. She later became a masochistic love interest of said barbarian. Scorpse note. Scorpse note. Scorpse note. I can't, for the life of me, see any way this could possibly backfire. Scorpse note. One guy in our friend group convinced myself and our 2 roommates to start playing D&D during this past semester at school. For this campaign, completely homebrew as far as I know, we have a goblin menace that has appeared after thousands of years of not being seen. They are kidnapping children, raiding towns, and destroying everything in their way. In come my wood elf rogue Valen, our halfling druid Juvie, human paladin Merrimack, and NPC human farmhand Balbaroy. Our town gets destroyed and we are tasked with finding where the goblins are coming from. In our travels, we are on a boat at night, tracking a pair of goblins that kidnapped Juvie, who was disguised as a child. We follow them on a local fisherman's boat to their big black ship where Valen, Merrimack, and Balbaroy intimidate the goblins so much from the action of jumping into their small rowboat that one of them falls back onto their own sword in shock and the other is scared breathless. Merrimack and I grab the breathing goblin and start to interrogate it on how many goblins are on the boat. Where are the kids? How can we get past them? The usual stuff. However, we were a little too good on our intimidation checks. The goblin kept stammering, "Big cloaked man! Big armored man!" repeatedly. This was going nowhere, and we needed to get onto the goblin ship. To do that quietly, we needed disguises. Now, in our minds, we decided it would be best to have Valen, who has an amazing sneak skill, and Balbaroy, who we as players wanted to come along with us to go onto the ship. Balbaroy had mediocre sneak skills, we thought, but we wanted to give him a disguise. At this point, Juvie wakes up from whatever drug the goblins gave him. He then gets the idea to skin the face off the dead goblin and put it on Balbaroy's face. With a nat 20, Juvie cuts off the dead goblin's face, and we start to place it onto Balbaroy's face, who rolls a nat 1 constitution check. Everyone on the boat must do constitution checks, including the still living goblin. This goblin sees everything going on and just starts screaming out loud, almost alerting the other boat until Merrimack gags him with a rope we had. After going through the effort of finally placing the goblin's face onto Balbaroy, Juvie then says, "Wait a minute, I am about the height of a goblin. I should go instead of Balbaroy." We peeled the goblin face off Balbaroy and gave it to Juvie. We then went on the boat, rescued the kids, and got back to see the town we left from with a mortally scarred NPC who wants to still be around us. One of my players came up with the scariest plan I've ever heard. He had his warrior friend beat the assassin unconscious, then used Modify Memory to make the assassin believe he died and was tortured in hell for what felt like days. When he woke up, he was very talkative. After we let him go, we heard that he spent the rest of his days trying to atone for his sins. None of the other party members dared to question what torture he showed the assassin. I was DMing the Assassin's Knot with a group that included my oldest son when they had a suspect tied up in the woods who was unresponsive to threats from a basically good party that didn't want to resort to torture. My son had an ability that allowed him to alter his form, so he said, "I'm turning into a Merilith and asking the same questions." A couple of dice rolls and the guy spilled everything. When we talked about it afterward, my son stated when people see a Merilith, they don't ask, "Is that a nice demon or a mean demon?" They just say, "Holy crap, that's a demon." I remember an interrogation scene that a party I was a part of took right out of the Infinity War meme list. I was playing a Warforged monk, and the other 2 important party members were a wizard and a sorcerer, both with the spell Enlarge Reduce. We had just taken a bandit leader hostage in order to find the rest of his network of petty thieves for a quest, but upon attempting to interrogate him, and failing numerous times, the wizard piped up and asked my monk if he needed to breathe. Naturally, I didn't have to breathe, and was shrunk down enough to be used as Ant-Man going up into Thanos. The deal was this: the guy had 60 seconds to talk before the metal man would be throwing punch after punch in the smaller intestines, as he grows bigger and bigger before said leader pops like an overfilled water balloon. The DM did not require a roll from the sorcerer, as said spellcaster followed it up with, "Oh, and by the way, don't try to run either. The inside of the human body is an unoccupied space if you're small enough, and believe me, my teleportation skills are quite accurate," before my Warforged was sent up the man's rear port. Safe to say my Warforged needed a lot of cleaning after that whole debacle. So, how'd you like that? Did you find yourself gleaning some good ideas for your own campaign? Have you got some great interrogation stories of your own? Want to share them in the comments? Have you got another story you've been meaning to share? Have you checked out our official subreddit, r/MrRipper? Are you looking for a group to play D&D with? Have you heard of our Discord server, Mr. Ripper's Group Finder? Would you consider asking more questions this week? Who am I? Who are any of us, really? Could you please check out our official TikTok at MrRipperDND or my official TikTok at Dave Makes Noises? Have you any idea how much joy that would bring me? And hey, do you mind subbing for Nat 20s? Oh, and would you have a great week?